Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari, Radha Kunj Bihari, Radhe.
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 Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva Mai Subhadra.
Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva Mai Subhadra.
Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Bala Gopal, Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Giri Govardhan.
Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Bala Gopal, Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Giri Govardhan.
Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai.
Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva.
Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Hari Nam Sankirtana ki
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Gopti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamstra. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Pre Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kupa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Hi Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gauda Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we are back to studying Bhagavad Gita. I was told that we last studied verse 14:11 in September because we had so many wonderful Kartik classes, one festival season after another. And now we're entering another festival season. And what is this festival season we're entering? Gita Jayanti. Yeah. And what's the broader festival that Gita Jayanti takes place during the month of? This Prabhupada's book distribution marathon. This is the book distribution marathon month. Srila Prabhupada established the great importance of distributing books. It is the greatest compassion we can demonstrate and execute is to share this knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada labored intensely to produce these books so that they may uplift society from a position of despair and suffering and difficulty and bring about peace and happiness. And in his books, he has given the exacting formula. Everything one needs to know how to find perfection of life, it's there. And he painstakingly presented this knowledge, not based on his own whimsical understanding, but on the authority of Guru Parampara. As the knowledge has come from the Supreme Lord, passed down in Guru Parampara, through the Vaishnavacharya, Srila Prabhupada has presented it. But what Srila Prabhupada did is something that no one in the history of the human race has done. And that is, he has presented this knowledge of the utmost, ultimate science, but he's made it very digestible and understandable for us. You know, if you read some Nobel Peace Prize winning paper, anyone on economics or physics, you cannot understand anything. It's so beyond our realm. This is all material knowledge. So how much higher is his spiritual knowledge? But somehow he has put it into words without diluting one fraction of his potency into words that we can understand. And it is truly the gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us, these amazing analogies, these metaphors he uses, so that we can tangibly grasp this knowledge and then apply it in our life. And it is an amazing gift. And it's all contained within these books. You know, Srila Prabhupada is alive today through his books. When we read a purport from Srila Prabhupada, it is having a one-on-one conversation with His Divine Grace. He spoke into a dictaphone, and that those recording tapes were then typed into purports, and then we are reading them. So it is no different from Srila Prabhupada speaking to us the meaning of each and every verse that he has presented. So this month is Book Distribution Marathon Month. It is always important to distribute books, but particularly in this month, because Srila Prabhupada, being the very practical and worldly distributor of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, understood that the month of December is also, the Christmas season. This very beautiful tree helping us celebrate, and it is a season of giving, right? And we give gifts, at least in the Western culture. So Srila Prabhupada, took this opportunity and said, we should use this as an opportunity to share the greatest of all the gifts. When Narendra Modi goes and visits various heads of state, it's custom that you give a gift from your country, something that is significant from your land, unique to your land. And what does he give?
Bhagavad Gita.
He says, I have no greater treasure for my country. No large diamond or ruby or emerald, some spices or silks or tapestry. This is the greatest of gift. And so it is our great opportunity to please Srila Prabhupada by distributing his books. And these books are so powerful. They don't even need to be read for them to be effective. That's what's amazing about them. Just the presence of these books in one's home is so powerful. It can uplift the entire consciousness. And its presence alone means someday they will be read. Someday they'll be opened. And it could be years, it could be a next generation. And that's happened. People have found books in the attics of their parents' house, and someone opened it, and all of a sudden they are it. We don't know, but they're live, they're dynamic, and so we can distribute these widely and farly. And I can say to anyone that we love or care for, we should give these books to. This Bhagavad Gita is an easy book to give. It's a book that's been commented by the likes of Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Great scholars and universities have commented on its potency of wisdom. So on a very general presentation, this book is very attractive. I've given it to many people who have no inkling towards Vedic philosophy. They're very pious and nice individuals. And I'll share it with them, and they keep it. And it just by keeping it within them, their possessions, they're rendering some service to Krishna. And that service ultimately will be reciprocated. And so, we may wonder, to give this book, that they won't read it. They're not ready for it. Everyone is ready for it. It just is a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Just like every mango on a mango tree is ready to be offered to the Lord, but some are not yet ripe. They will ripen in time. They'll ripen. So similarly, these books, we should distribute them far and wide. We tend to be sometimes a little shy, maybe a little reserved. But trust me, there is no greater treasure that you can give. And by doing so, you will assure a very happy and pleased Srila Prabhupada. And by pleasing Srila Prabhupada, you are sure to please the Supreme Lord. And Krishna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, whoever shares this knowledge with others is very dear to me. And then he goes on to say, actually, there's no one more dear to me. So this month is a great opportunity to share. We all have people we can distribute these books to, and so So I encourage at least distribute 5 books. It's not that difficult. 5 books. 5 Bhagavad Gitas. We can do it. We can do it. 5 people who we care about, who we want to show some love, some compassion to, and just distribute them. And you'll see your own life will change and also theirs. So we can desire now that in front of these beautiful Gaura-Nitai deities that please help me find 5 souls to share these Bhagavad Gitas with, and do it, and you'll see great results. Again, book distribution, the power of book distribution, we can talk for years and years because so many lives have changed. I know in my own experience, somebody knocked on our door in the early 1980s, and they gave my father a Bhagavad Gita, and from there he is now living in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And it all started with that Bhagavad Gita. He had no spiritual inclination. He was very pious, but had no spirituality. He came to the U.S. as a bachelor to study in the 60s, and was immersed in American culture, so-called. But the Bhagavad Gita ended up in his hands, and from there, took a few years, took some time, but finally it unfolded. And so I have first-hand experience just the power of these books. And again, someone just literally knocked on the door, looked up names in a directory, and distributed it. So I'm not even saying go to strangers. That's even very, very wonderful. But someone we know, someone we care for, and distribute these books. And the best way to distribute the books, you have to have the books. So everybody should have at least in their home 1 case of Bhagavad Gitas. There's a minimum requirement, because if you have them, and then you'll distribute them, and you should have them in a place where you see them, so you think, oh, I have so many, I have to distribute them. But so take a case. We'll be doing Gita Jayanti next Sunday. We'll be reciting all the verses of Bhagavad Gita with the fire sacrifice in the temple on Sunday. And there we'll be distributing cases of Bhagavad Gita from the altar. And so you can take a case and distribute at least 5 of them now, and the remaining you can distribute over the year. And next year you can take another case. And like that, just a small service to Srila Prabhupada. Now, there are many devotees who are distributing hundreds of Bhagavad Gitas a month. Hundreds. And grahastas, not like full-time brahmacharis in the temple. Grahasta devotees who have jobs and families and everything, like we all are at least situated here, are managing, still distributing so many books. So I hope that we all can take advantage of this most glorious book marathon month and distribute some books. And so I beg everybody, please take at least 1 case of Bhagavad Gitas, at least 1, and begin to distribute them. Keep them in your car, keep them in your home, and you never know when an opportune time presents itself to share a Bhagavad Gita with somebody. Okay? So, shall we read from chapter 14? Text number 14. So, just a quick synopsis, since it's been almost 2 months since we last read, or more than 2 months. We talked about the modes of material nature. So modes of goodness, modes of passion, modes of ignorance, and how the modes lead us to different types of activities. So based on the mode of nature that we are in, we find happiness in different types of activities, right? Why some people enjoy, early morning walks in the park and doing nice social work and wonderful activities, while others enjoy, late night clubs and and all kinds of, sort of interesting activities. Why everyone has different tastes? Chapter 14, page 576. And so this is due to the modes of material nature. So based on the modes, we have certain impressions, certain conditioning, and it leads us to different activities. So we talked about goodness, passion, and ignorance. So the modes now, Krishna is going to discuss what is the result when one is in the mode of goodness, when one is in the mode of passion, and what is in the mode of ignorance, particularly at the time of death. And death is something, we don't often want to talk about, but it's a reality. As sure as there are taxes, there is, and we know, there are only two certainties in life, right? They say, death and taxes. So that's going to happen. So, as Krishna has already told us, it's a matter of changing the bodies of life. But now what happens, Krishna explains in verses 14 and 15, the different modes that are at play here. So let's read. We'll read both 14 and 15. They're short verses and purports. So if someone wants to read the verse, you can read the English or the Sanskrit, whatever you're comfortable with. And then the purport.
Chapter
14.
Text 14, right?
Text 14, yeah.
Yada sattve prabhadde tu pralayam yati dehabrit yatadottama vidam lokan namulam pratipadyate. I don't know how to read that.
That's
I
perfect.
tried.
Just trying is perfect.
Okay. So when the one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages.
Purport.
Oh, purport. Okay.
Someone
One
else?
in the goodness attains higher planetary systems like Brahma Loka or the Janaloka, and there enjoys godly happiness. The word Amalan is significant. It means free from the mode of passion and ignorance. There are impurities in the material world, but the mode of goodness in the purest form of existence in the material world. There are different kinds of planets for different kinds of living entities. Those who die in the mode of goodness are elevated to the planets where great sages and great devotees lie.
Thank you. Someone else wants to read 15? You can read just English also, no problem.
I will read it.
You okay?
Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangvisu jayate tatha pralinas tamasi mudha yonisu jayate. Okay, and then the translation, English translation will be like, when one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities, and one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Purport: some people have the impression that when the soul reaches the platform of human life, it never goes down again. That is incorrect. According to this verse, if one develops the mode of ignorance, after his death, he is degraded to the animal life of form of life. From there, one has to again elevate himself by an evolutionary process to come again to human form of life. Therefore, Those who are actually serious about human life should take to the mode of goodness and in good association transcend the modes and become situated in Krishna consciousness. This is the aim of human life. Otherwise, there is no guarantee that the human being will again attain to the human status.
So how many species of life are there?
3 crore. Crore.
33 million is just the number of devatas, demigods. But how many species of life?
8,400,000.
8,400,000 species. Species of life. So, the first Vedanta Sutra that Srila Vyasadeva tells us is Atato Brahma Jignasa. Atato means therefore. So he begins his book with the word therefore. Therefore implies something has happened previously. Right? So, what has happened? He's saying, now that you've achieved the human form of life. Well, what do you mean achieve that? I'm in the human form of life. So, Prabhupada says, foolishly people think two things. One, that if I'm in the human form of life, I'm guaranteed to remain in the human form of life. But in fact, we see Krishna says that based on the activities you perform in this life, it determines where you go next. You're not eternally destined in one place or another. If your activities are in the mode of ignorance, where does one go? To the animal species. And if one dies in the mode of passion, their life full of passion, where do they go? It doesn't say specifically where, but birth among where does it? What does Krishna say in the verse? If you die in the mode of passion,
It takes birth among those
Engaged in
fruitive activities.
fruitive activities, right? That is basically here, right? Everybody's engaged in fruitive activities. Let me do some activity, obtain the results, and try to enjoy them. Does that, in essence, define most of society? We could say basically all. Let me work, earn some reward, and then try to enjoy it. And we find and invent so many different ways to try to enjoy those fruits of that labor. We invent so many things, and ultimately all end up in suffering, dissatisfaction, lack of achievement of the goal. And what happens if one is shaping their whole life in the mode of goodness? Then what happens?
On the sages. Few
Higher
higher
planets.
planets of the great sages.
Like
Sages and devotees.
the great sages, right? Like Brahmalok and Jamalok. So Prabhupada makes a very important point in the purport. Is this a place of perfection? These higher, so living life in the mode of goodness the ultimate achievement one can have in this human form of life? No. Why not?
Because you come back.
You still have the four modes of the nature, right? Death, birth, and disease, and
So both things, yeah. So we still have birth and death, old age and disease. So Srila Prabhupada says that it's the purest of the material world. It's the purest of the material world. It's kind of like saying, hey, I have the best jail cell in the prison. Is that much to brag about? Is that much of an accomplishment in the grand scheme of things? Within the prison house, that's quite an accomplishment, right? If you're stuck in the very, low area and you've worked hard to get to the highest prison house jail cell, you would think, But in the grand scheme of things, has much been accomplished? That's the reality of, as almost foolish or funny as that statement sounds, that's the reality of even achieving the modes of goodness. Because it's still within the material world. That is and as Krishna has already said in the Bhagavad Gita, that from the highest planet to the lowest within the material world, it is full of dukkha, dukkhalayam. Because as Prabhuji mentioned, there's still disease, there's still old age, there's still death, there's still birth. There's still envy, there's still conflict, there's still fear. Actually, one cannot be fully happy until you're free of fear. You can have all the wealth in the world. And what is your greatest fear?
Losing it.
Losing it. You're either going to lose it one of two ways. Either someone's going to take it from me, or I'm going to So unless one is fearless, there is no freedom, no ultimate enjoyment. And fearlessness only exists in devotional service. Otherwise, one is all constantly fearing each step in this material world. Even in the highest planets, there is fear. The demigods are always fearful of the battles with the asuras. Just read Srimad Bhagavatam. They're fearful of who's going to usurp my position, my power. So, while mode of goodness is certainly better than passion and ignorance, Prabhupada guides us that, hey, remember, in the context, take everything in context. Just like the A-class jail cell is good in context of the prison, but in context of the whole, it's not. And so in the same light, mode of goodness in the context of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, is still not the ultimate accomplishment. And so Prabhupada writes in that purport to the 16th verse that the human form of life, one should transcend, meaning go from the mode of goodness, ultimately up to devotional service, bhakti. Because then one can achieve this ultimate goal of life. But the key purport for this verse, these set of verses is, one should discriminate their actions. Why can we not act whimsically and just do what I want? Because ultimately there'll be reactions. Man may say it's okay to slit the head of an animal for you to enjoy on your plate. But God doesn't say it's okay. Man may say it's okay to intoxicate. But the laws of God don't. So man's laws are important, but ultimately we must answer to God's laws. Right? And why? Because as Krishna says in these verses, we'll ultimately be held accountable. Meaning our next destination will be based on the activities we perform here. So based on the different modes, don't think, as Prabhupada writes here, some people have the impression that when the soul reaches the platform of human life, it never goes down. I'm good. I'm all set. Well, in fact, that is not the case. Based on these activities, one can fall down to lower life forms. And as Srila Prabhupada has written elsewhere, we have already, as spirit souls, we have transmigrated all 8.4 million species of life. Just think about that for just a second. Next time you see some very strange or unique insect in your house, just remember, you were once in that same body. I was once in that same body. Kind of scary to think, but it helps us appreciate that we have reached this human form of life. Because actually, we don't take any introspection when I say we, broadly as society, to think Now that I've achieved this human form of life, what should I do with it? And so we go on through life, largely going through what society guides us as the best opportunities to take. But in reality, we should take our guidance from the Supreme Lord, our ultimate loving Father, who's guiding each and every living entity. That you have achieved this human form of life, and now what you should do, Krishna says, you should surrender unto me. I'll take care of all your past reactions, whatever they are, and just become my devotee. And then you'll find your peace and happiness that you are searching for. And so otherwise we become beholden to the wills of the mind, the lust that resides within our senses. It has taken up strategic positions in our senses and in our mind. Okay? And so one must become either beholden to that or hold on to the feet of Srila Prabhupada and his books and uplift. Okay? And I was just reading in very sweet pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. And this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj is so amazing. But in the beginning of that pastime, the benediction is given that when one reads this pastime with Dhruva Maharaj, one becomes detached from their material attachments. And one develops faith in the process of devotional service. And in this pastime, Dhruva Maharaj is tested by Narada Muni. And Narada Muni basically says, you're a young child interested in sports. Go home. Go play in the palace. Give up your anger. And Dhruva Maharaj was not moved. And then Narada Muni says, this process of devotion, it's really hard. And Dhruva Maharaj says, ultimately he says, if you can instruct me on how I can achieve my goal, instruct me. Otherwise, thank you very much. Doesn't quite say it that way. But in essence, he was determined. And Srila Prabhupada makes a beautiful statement in one of the purports. He says, Narada Muni was not wrong. Devotional service can be hard. But actually, if one is determined, like Dhruva Maharaj, bhakti becomes very easy. It's based on our determination. How determined am I to take to the process? And it becomes easy. But otherwise, it becomes very hard. And we know, we try to ourselves or bring others to practice. It's not so easy. But actually with determination. And Dhruva Maharaj was able to, in 6 months, attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead's darshan. At the age of 5. Empowered by his determination. But what was most stunning, not most stunning, but one of the things that just somehow this time caught me, I've read this pastime so many times, was that his mother, the words his mother speaks, Queen Suniti, when Dhruva Maharaj comes running to her after being forbidden to sit on the lap of his father, he is in a very fiery, angry mood. Prabhupada writes in order for he's a Kshatriya, right? So he's not an ordinary angry 5-year-old boy, but he's fiery mad. Now we know, what is the ultimate goal of mother?
Teach the kids Krishna God consciousness.
That's the ultimate goal. But the mother wants to pacify her child, make her child happy. Make her child happy. Relieve the child of any disturbances in their life. And to what end will mother go to do that? Anything. Anything. Mother will do anything to relieve whatever is disturbing, making their child unhappy. Right? So when her child comes to her in his extreme unhappiness, word had already reached the palace that Dhruva was coming unhappy. That much fiery he was when he left the palace of his father. What does Queen Suniti say? Come here, I'll take care of you. I'll pacify you. What she says? Shocking and remarkable and most intelligent. She says that only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can relieve your unhappiness. Now, for a mother to say that to a 5-year-old child, it's the most intelligent thing a mother can come to. Very difficult. And Queen Suniti then goes on to say, and Prabhupada comments in the purport, that he says, or she says, that whatever love and care I can show you, and you multiply that by many millions times, meaning take the motherly love and multiply it millions and millions of times, it's a tiny fraction of the love Krishna will show you. The protection and care that Krishna will show you. And so with the utmost confidence, what does she do? She tells her 5-year-old son, if you want relief from your suffering, I'm sorry, my hands are tied, I'm helpless, but Krishna can help you. Oh, where is he? Deep into the forest. And so she, with the greatest of faith, sends her child deep into the forest where there are tigers and snakes and all kinds. And she's not wondering how he's going to eat, where he's going to sleep, all these motherly natural, right? The nature of the mother is to care first and foremost about those things. But she understands that actually who is the true provider of all of that? It's not her as mother. It is ultimately the Supreme Lord. And so the great confidence, she sends, Dhruva Maharaj to the forest to find Krishna. Why? Because she says, ultimately, he can take your unhappiness away. So her goal to save her son from her unhappiness was amazing. Nothing is more disappointing to a mother than when a child comes to them, they're unhappy, and they cannot pacify the child. Is there anything more dissatisfying? Nothing is more dissatisfying. Because all we want is our child's happiness. And Queen Suniti understood that ultimately how to deliver that to her child. So, I was struck by that again, just reading this, how much faith she had in devotional service. Far beyond what is required of us. If we were required, to forget about saying just ourselves, endure that type of austerity, done. It would never happen. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his unlimited mercy, he said, you don't need to endure all this extreme austerity. Just within the context of where you are today, bring Krishna into the center of your life. Chant the holy names of the Lord. Read, Srila Prabhupada's books. Render some service in the temple. Enjoy wonderful prasadam. And the same result Dhruva Maharaj achieved is available. And actually the process is, relatively speaking, very easy compared to the different processes of mystic yoga, Ashtanga yoga, all these very difficult. The process of chanting, we still find some difficulty in it. But relatively speaking, it's quite achievable for us. So, this helps center our understanding, what is the ultimate goal of life and what is the immediate goal of life. Because, we can acquire all these things in the material world. But if Krishna is not into center of it, it won't mean anything. It won't mean anything. And, I had the opportunity to, be with our youth group last week, and it was a very, very, very enjoyable experience. And we were talking about, careers and career planning. And, one of the things that we talked about was, you can achieve the greatest of careers. But if the fruits of that career is to try to enjoy your senses, you're going to be in the same predicament that we've already acknowledged. It took us a while to figure it out, that eating, drinking, sleeping, and mating is not going to give us the happiness we want. But if we simply are raising our children to achieve that objective, what are we actually teaching them to achieve? So instead, you have the same aspirations for those career goals and objectives, but you must bring Krishna into the center of that. Otherwise, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And we're going to be subjected to best case, mode of goodness, worst case, mode of ignorance. Best case, A-class jail cell. So between what I was reading there and this verse and that, it just seemed to fit so nicely together to help center our, our understanding of how to find perfection in life, and it is to bring the Supreme Lord into the center of everything that we're doing. So this is verses 14 and 15. And so next week we'll discuss now, the results of the different activities, this purity. To preview, in the next verse, Krishna says that mode of passion, it results in misery. It's a very strong statement, because really the whole world is revolving at least at the mode of passion level or mode of ignorance. And the result is misery. And sometimes they say, that's not true. No. It's a statement of Krishna. He is the absolute truth. Our recognition of that may be developing, but it is a fact. So we'll discuss that more next week. So, okay. Any comments, questions, discussion? Have some time. Yeah.
Would you say that spirituality is more nurture than nature?
Well, the inherent intrinsic nature of the soul is to be in loving service to Krishna. There is no other nature of the soul. That is the intrinsic nature of the soul. The constitutional position is to be in loving service of the Supreme Lord. We actually know or have no other activity. But our nature has become covered. And so what we are in the process of doing through nurture is removing that covering to bring about our original nature. Sometimes we wonder, how do I know if bhakti is for me? Well, because it's for everyone. Because the soul only has one nature. It only has one kind. Just in as much as a fish, it has only one environment in which it can be happy. And that is water. You can take it to the mountaintop in a beautiful scene. You can take it to the beach. You can take it to anywhere. See all the stuff. Wonders of the world. It'll never be happy. Because it's not in its natural environment. So devotional service is about reawakening our original nature. It's not about acquiring something new or trying to bring about something, from the outside in. It's from the inside out. We're simply awakening it. And that's why devotional service ultimately with determination becomes very easy. Because it's not like I have to go search out. If you tell me, hey, I want to become a, world-class cricket player. Well, you may not have the innate ability to do that. You may put all the effort into it, but it may not happen. You may not have the ultimate athletic ability to do so, right? So you may or may not be successful in that endeavor. In bhakti, the innate ability to sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam bhaja, that is our nature. So all we have to do is go get it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The last statement which you mentioned, that Krishna says that mode of passion, if you are working under, then that leads to misery, and the whole world is revolving around that. So if that's the case, how come we are so foolish that every time we're doing the same thing, right? I mean, it's leading to misery, but we don't realize.
Well, Krishna says the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. Yeah, I mean it's startling, right? Because we think, okay, just one more step, and I got it, right? We've been thinking about that for our whole life. I just need to get one more zero in my bank account. I need to get one more car, one bigger house, one more child. And each time we get there, we're seeing even further away from our goal. And we see everybody around us. And then we project, oh, they've got perfection. But we don't know what happens when the doors are closed in the house. What's going on between the ears. All we can see is external perception. Right? And so it's the epitome of stubbornness. Banging my head against the wall, ouch, that hurts. Banging my head against the wall, ouch, that hurts. Banging my head against the wall, ouch, that hurts. You would ultimately, if you were nice, call me stupid. Why are you banging your head against the wall? Every time you do it, you then say, ouch, it hurts. But I keep banging my head against the wall still. That's basically, in a nutshell, trying to enjoy our senses.
But that's a dream. It's a human life and it's a dream. If you don't have a dream, you can follow them. So you need some kind of goal to reach that dream,
Absolutely. We need a goal.
Yeah,
We talked about time management in our youth seminar.
yeah.
And we said you cannot make good decisions about your time unless you have first a goal. Because I don't know between option A, B, and C which activity I should do unless I know which of those is in relation to my goal. So you have to have a goal first. Right? So Krishna says in the 8th chapter, attaining the supreme. It's a brilliant chapter because he helps us define what is supreme. I've defined supreme in my own life, and all of you have too, by so many different things. When we were a child, supreme was on Halloween getting the most candy. That was like the best of all things. Or getting a snow day. And then we realized, boy, that's pretty foolish. And then as we grow up a little bit, getting supreme would be driving a BMW. Wow, that would be like supreme. And then another supreme. And we keep redefining what is that supreme. So Krishna helps guide us that actually the ultimate supreme is attaining Ananya Bhakti. Unmotivated, pure devotional service. This Ananya Bhakti, that is the ultimate supreme. And it exists in his eternal abode, achieving his eternal. So that is the supreme. So we have to have that goal, or dream, I call it a goal, but some So that then we can evaluate, okay, I have this opportunity to, whatever, pick an activity, go to the mall. Should I do it or not? Well, at least I can compare it against my goal. Does it help me achieve my goal? Right? Stephen Covey talks about time management. And he talks about the 4 quadrants and all this stuff is a wonderful principle. It can be applied perfectly to spirituality. But the key is first establishing, what is my goal? Right? What is my goal? And society defines goal as health and happiness. Unfortunately, it doesn't know how to achieve it. You think Friday nights, let's go along Big Beaver, enjoy, and the varieties of eating establishments are there, intoxicate a little bit, sleep in tomorrow, do some housework, relax a little bit more, and go through the cycle again the next week and the next week, ultimately all with the same end result. And what has been accomplished? I'm sorry to speak so bluntly, but it's the reality. Right? So, but by studying Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, we actually know what is the attained goal. Then we can shape our activities, make good decisions with our time. And that's how bhakti becomes very easy. We say we don't have time. We have time. We don't have taste. I used to tell my father all the time, I don't have time to chant. He would laugh at me. He says, you have time, you don't have taste. We make time for the things that are important to us, that we really, really want. We make time for all those. Anybody doesn't have time to eat 3 meals a day or 2 meals or whatever your diet calls for? Very rarely, but we do. So we make time for the things that are critical to us. So, how to make bhakti critical to us? We have to become aware of our situation.
How do you constantly maintain that level?
Association. Association. Right? We have to stay in association with Srila Prabhupada through his books, association of devotees, serving in the temple. Association is the ultimate power. How did we become, at least many of us, I'm sure, we became, we did well in school, right? Because we had friends that were aspiring to do well in school and we helped each other, if Srila Prabhupada said, if you want to be a great devotee, well, he first said, somebody asked him, how can I be a great devotee? He says, well, if you want to be a drunkard, associate with drunkards. If you want to be a great devotee, associate with great devotees. It's, association is so powerful. Because we'll lose our motivation. We'll get, and so we'll need somebody to help pick us up. And when our friend loses it, then we'd be there to pick them up. And like that, right? So, that's how we maintain, the enthusiasm, the determination. Is maintaining a good association.
Hang around with that's what they written so many places. Hang around with the Vaishnava, so you will be, joined all the time, thinking, talking, have a satsang, everything with the Vaishnava.
Yeah.
Which is a deity of Krishna. That's what they say.
That's what Krishna says in the 10th chapter. What do devotees enjoy doing? Katyantas chamam nityam. They enjoy speaking about me. And what happens? Tushanticha ramanticha. They're full of bliss and happiness. That's sadhu sangha. She's wearing a sadhu sangha jacket. That's sadhu sangha. Right? So association is critical. That's why Srila Prabhupada established the Sunday Feast program. If you think, Srila Prabhupada's vision was extraordinary. Because when he established the Sunday feast program, one might wonder, why the Sunday feast program? All the devotees at that time were living in the temple. There was a Monday feast, Tuesday feast, Wednesday. Why Sunday? Why the Sunday feast? The Sunday feast program was for grahastas who were not staying in the temple. And he knew ultimately the movement would become primarily grahastas, devotees, aspiring to practice devotional service. So he said that once a week at least, all devotees should gather in the temple and participate in the Sunday feast. And it enthuses one's bhakti. It gives one, the inspiration, the energy to make it through the week until the next Sunday. And thankfully you have some festivals in between, and so we get sometimes a double up. But that program Srila Prabhupada established, it was kind of that weekly regiment to give us that charge of the battery. Like if I don't associate this with the charger, after some time it's gonna die. Right? So this Sunday feast is an instrumental part. I remember my parents, when I was growing up in devotional service, my parents, when we started, I was a teenager. Tough time to come to Krishna consciousness as a teenager. And they said, it's okay, you just come to the Sunday feast. And so my brother and I would go. We'd attend the arti, the Nrsingadev prayers. And before they could finish with Jai Nrsingadev, Jai Prabhupada, we'd be out the door. We'd transfer 2 tubs of prasad, pack 2 plates and go. But we did that every week. And some dividend is there. That's how powerful Radha Kunj Bihari is. That if we stay connected, that association and that service, it will ultimately fructify.
When my husband came here in 1971, I think, so he was in the Detroit studies. He was studying in Detroit, and there was that is the only temple, Hare Krishna was there in the house, right?
Yeah, on 4th Street.
But they had every Sunday feast.
Yeah.
So these students, they were hungry every week, Sunday.
There we go.
When you go to the
Yeah.
So he this time he came, he said, I have to offer a prasad because they fed us lot.
Yeah, many wonderful stories like that. And whatever our reason is, there's still great benefit. And any other comments or questions? Yeah.
Another question, Prabhupada.
Yeah.
For the book distribution thing, now is the Prabhupada's books available on a Kindle, or like they have any apps or any
They are
online versions?
They are. They are all online digital. But we should distributing books. These are not material books. They're actually non-different from the Supreme Lord Himself. So they carry special potency. And that's why, I encourage all of you that, when you come to Bhakti Vriksha, you bring a Bhagavad Gita. Yes, we always have copies. Or you can have them on your phone. But you're carrying the Supreme Lord with you. It's just has an additional connectivity. We should distribute hard copy books. We use soft copy also. I used to travel a ton for work. Electronic medium is beautiful because you're never, at any down moment, you have an opportunity to read Prabhupada's books. But it should not supplant or replace our daily reading from books. So we should read from the books because you're interacting with Krishna more directly. Again, digital versions are wonderful for their time, place, and circumstance, as an augment, as a supplement, when it may not be practical to travel with your Srimad Bhagavatam set with you. Okay, you have it on your phone. I mean, that's the beauty of how powerful these things are, right? I mean, these are amazing technology that I can get all of Srila Prabhupada's books on this. How wonderful it is. So these things are good when used in the right way. Okay? So when we talk about distributing books, we want to distribute them in hard form. But we do know, yes, there are digital, you can go to vedabase.com, vedabase.io, and you can get all of Srila Prabhupada's books beautifully organized. They're great ways to do research because you can go to a specific topics, you can search and things like that. But they've all been digitized.
Is there multiple websites, or that's the only one? Like, we can get a list of websites, or like.
Vedabase is the one that I always use. I'm sure there are others, but Vedabase is the one that has all the Srila Prabhupada's books, and again, it's all indexed.
Okay.
And so you can go to a book, to a chapter, to a canto, to a verse, all the way through to a purport. So it's a very easy way to navigate all of Srila Prabhupada's books.
Vedabase.com.
Yeah, and there's an app. There's a Vedabase app. So I have the app too, which you can then use, and there's a couple of Android or iOS apps that are really good for Srila Prabhupada's books. Yeah, there are a few different apps that I've seen of Prabhupada's books. So I use Pocket Vedabase, but I'm sure there are others. Yeah. Anything else? So shall we chant? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.